Hi, mentors. Welcome back to session 3. We have a lot to share in this session. I'm going to try to keep it close to 25 minutes as I possibly can. I'm going to have to talk really fast, so it might be more 30 minutes, but bear with me. We do have a lot of great information to share. So let me do screen share real quick to open up the PowerPoint, and then we will get started here. All right, so family coaching on the go, parenting mentor training session number 3. Here we go. Here's our session 3 goals. So last time we talked about your expectations, the expectations of a mentor, as well as some things to expect during a session. We talked about that LEARN acronym, LEARN, which was listen, empathize, ask questions, reflect what you heard, and then move on to the next steps. And that's what we'll be talking about today too, is what are some good next step things to talk to them about. So in that, we'll review the teamwork parenting approach and talk about some tools that you can teach and share with the parents in a coaching session that you do, a mentoring session. So in this session, we'll talk about the description of the tools and how you can apply them in the sessions. So for the parent expectations and procedures, so when they come up to a mobile coaching site, they will first be asked to fill out a brief form sharing their main parenting question or concern, also the age of their child that they're concerned about. They're going to fill out a waiver, and that is just going to remind the parents that they are in charge of their child, of their family, of their parenting decisions, and that we are there just to offer suggestions. Remember, that's why we're not using the language in our next step conversation. We're not using the language of, oh, here's what you have to do, or you must do this. We're using things like, well, here's what I suggest, here's what's worked for me, here's what I've tried, because they are responsible for their parenting choices. And unfortunately, in a world where everybody sues everybody, we have to have that waiver signed so that they recognize that they are in charge of their family decisions, of their parenting decisions, and that we are there just to help and to offer suggestions. So that covers both the organization and you as a volunteer. And the idea behind having them fill out this pre-form before they come up to our, before they sit down for a session, is that we ideally would hope that we could find a mentor that would be a good match for them. So if a mentor has a teenager and they have a teenage question, then we hope to be able to match them with them. Now, that may not work, especially as we're starting out and we just have a few volunteers, but we're going to do the best that we can to do that, or at least someone who's well experienced in interacting with people, or someone who's been to a lot of our classes. And don't worry if you haven't, you will learn all of the things that we've talked about, and you will gain confidence in having these conversations. Confidentiality, just remember that we're not going to go blabbing around everything that we hear in these sessions. We want these mobile coaching sites to be a safe place for parents to come, even with sensitive parenting issues. And so just keep that in mind. Remember, the only thing you have to report is child abuse and neglect. Everything else is confidential. And so you don't have to tell your friends or your neighbors anything that you heard someone say, because you might run into a friend or a neighbor and they might have some issues that they're talking about. And we just want to make sure that they recognize that it's something that's going to be kept quiet. You will be signing a confidentiality form, and it is on that volunteer webpage for you. So let's review the teamwork parenting approach. Remember that it is that authoritative parenting style. It is research-based, faith-based, and attachment-based. And it combines that permissive, like, relationship type of parenting with the authoritarian rule type parenting, and it combines them to say, let's have that balance of both. And the teamwork parenting approach has a lot of tools. Remember, we talked about that tools are very empowering to parents. It's not overwhelming. It's like, hey, you can use this tool. And that's why I wanted to share it with you for your mentoring sessions, because you can say, hey, here's a great tool that I've used or that I learned in my training that might be helpful in this situation. And the tools are designed to help parents stay calm, confident, cooperative, and connected. So let's talk about some teamwork parenting tools that you can use. The first one is the family identity tool. So I just want to give you a description of it. Basically, it's creating a sense of team in your family, creating this sense of belonging, including your religion, your culture, your traditions, your values. And you use those values and your family identity and the character traits that you believe in to teach and train and encourage and lead and guide your children in life. And so you create this sense of, this is who we are, this is what we believe, and this is who you are because you're a part of our family. So you would say things like, we are the Leaves and we're kind. We are the Sanchez family and we're respectful. We're the Zhang family and we solve problems together. So it's creating that sense of identity around positive character traits. So how would you use family identity in mentoring? Well, in that ask question section, you can say, well, how does this problem go against your family values? Or how can you work as a team to solve this problem as a family? Or what character traits need to be taught here? Do you see how you can just use that to get them thinking and get them really reflecting on, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that it is about respect, or this is just simply about listening and obeying. And I think that's a really great thing to do there. The connection tool. Staying connected and building close positive relationships with our kids is the key to any discipline challenge. Remember last time we talked about those cheat sheets and we talked about TP? Well, this is a great opportunity to bring that back up. So if you're finding that the person is having an issue with their child, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So it's really about, hang on one second, I'll talk about it in the next slide, but it's about spending quality time with our kids to help them feel safe, valued, and loved. It's creating that sense of team and togetherness and communicating that our kids are important. When we connect with our kids, when we connect as our family, that's what we're talking about. So now we can talk about connection and mentoring. So if you're listening and then there's a lot of conflict, there's a lot of discipline issues, you can say, hey, in the ask part, right? Do you feel your child is just trying to get your attention? And then see what they say about that. Then the next steps could be, well, I suggest, because remember, we make suggestions. I suggest trying maybe to spend 10 minutes a day with your child to work on building a closer relationship. And that might alone, just that alone, that's how powerful the connection tool is just having that connection might help with any misbehavior that child is doing. Because oftentimes kids will do anything to get our attention, even if it's negative attention. So sometimes in mentoring a parent to give their child more positive, intentional connection time, that might take care of a lot of discipline issues. The boundaries tool. So the boundaries tool are just making sure that kids feel safe and secure in having rules and boundaries in place. Okay, kids need rules and boundaries. They absolutely have to have them. It makes them feel safe. It makes them feel secure. And we want to use boundaries around health and safety of our child and the character of our child. So sometimes we can just let things go. Like if it has to do with them wanting to get dressed in the morning and the parent is like, oh, but I want to get them dressed. It's like, well, you know what? It doesn't have to do with their health or safety or their character. So maybe we can just let that go, right? But we want to be able to set healthy expectations and consequences in advance as much as possible. So how do we work boundaries into our mentoring? So if you feel the child is in charge and calling the shots, that can't happen, right? So you can ask, well, how can you make this boundary clearer to your child? So if you're finding that the child is kind of like calling the shots, it's like, wait, let's talk about a boundary that might need to be in place here. And then you can share in the next steps, well, here's what I've tried to work as a team with my child to enforce a boundary. And you can share like making a checklist, creating a contract, setting a timer, using when then, like when the toys are cleaned up, then we will move on to doing whatever else that you want to do. The empathy tool. I love this tool, you guys. Empathy calms our child's brain. It shows that you understand, it provides comfort to walk them through their big emotions, and it creates a sense of closeness without changing the boundary that we've set. So we don't want to shift our boundaries around, especially if we know that they're there for the health and safety of our child and their character building. Then we don't want to shift around the boundary, but we can always show empathy to our child. That is so, so, so important in that parent-child relationship. So in mentoring, this is going to be kind of a really great one to teach parents during a session, because if a parent is starting to feel really frustrated at their child, you can ask, how can you show empathy to your child without giving into their fit? And for the next steps, you could say something, well, something that works for me is giving my child a big hug and telling them that I understand. So you've set a boundary, your child is really upset about it. Instead of yelling and screaming and amplifying the situation, you can provide empathy and comfort and say, gosh, I understand. It's so hard not to get your way. Let me know when you calm down and we'll play a game together. And so you move back to connection. Like, hey, when you calm down, then we'll play a game together. But empathy has to come from the heart. And sometimes it does take practice, because I think that that's something that I've had to learn to grow in, because it's really hard to empathize with something that when the kid is throwing a fit sometimes. The power tool, this is a really, really important piece of parenting. First of all, just recognizing that our kids need a healthy sense of power that is under our authority. So it's not letting our kid be the boss of our house and telling us what to do. We're still in charge, but they do need a little bit of power under our authority. They need a little bit of decision-making power. They need a little bit of opinion sharing. They need a little bit of control over their little lives, right? But we have to respect our power zone and our child's power zone. For example, we buy and put the healthy food in proper proportions on our child's plate. That's our power zone. And then they get to decide if they want to eat it or not. That is in the child's power zone. The other part to the power tool is intentionally filling our child's power bucket and giving them opportunities to solve problems, to figure things out for themselves, to make mistakes, to fix those mistakes. And we are there to guide them through it, and that provides them with a lot of power. So I'm going to give you this handout so that we don't have to read through all of them, but it just shows you what is in the parent power zone and what is in the child power zone. And this handout and a couple of other power zone handouts, I think we have a specific one just for toddlers, will also be in our parenting resource section. So you can say, let's go over and take a look at some of the power zone things that might be happening in your home, where maybe you're crossing over to your child's power zone, or you're letting your child cross over into your power zone, and neither one of them is healthy or effective for that parent-child relationship. So power and mentoring, you could ask, do you feel your child needs a little more decision-making power? And if so, what does that look like, right? The next steps, you could say, something that has really helped my kids gain a healthy sense of power are give my child two choices. Do you want this or this? Sometimes I'll say, do you want this, or both? And that way they can have a lot of power in making that decision. For little kids, letting them pick out their own clothes as long as they are appropriate, right? So it's giving them power under our authority. Working as a team to set up a phone contract. So this would be for older kids, working as a team to set up a phone contract with expectations and consequences that you both agree upon. That gives the child a sense of power, because they are part of that decision-making process of what do our expectations look like around having a phone, and what do the consequences look like if I don't follow these expectations. But it's a team effort, and it provides a lot of power to that child. The practice tool. Well, the teamwork parenting approach is all about practice makes progress. Not perfect. We don't expect our kids to be perfect. We're not perfect, right? But we want to set our kids up for success by teaching them what to do. Kids need to know what to do more than they need to know what not to do. So we want to allow them to get things right and get positive reinforcement from positive behaviors. And the practice tool allows us to do that. It allows us to be proactive in our parenting instead of reactive. So if we're practicing the skills that we want them to do, then we don't have to yell and punish and argue for them not doing it. So it's providing that opportunity for positive training on any skill, like listening and obeying, or speaking respectfully, or sharing. I mean, whatever it is that your child is having difficulty, instead of spending more time in the reactive camp of punishing and yelling and arguing, we need to spend more time in the proactive camp of practicing the right thing to do. So, practice in mentoring. You can ask, do you feel your child would benefit from practicing what to do differently? And then for your next steps, you could say, well, I've really found it helpful to take a few minutes to have my child practice leaving the park without a fit, or saying thank you for something, or listening and obeying me the first time I ask them to do something. So giving kids, and I let parents, especially parents of little kids, to practice something that you need them to get better at 5 times a day. 5 times a day, have them practice something. And that's a way for them to get better at doing something that you want them to do. 2 on-the-spot practice tools are the Rewind tool and the Movie Director tool. I love these tools. These have actually changed our whole family dynamic, and I'll tell you why. Because you rewind and you give them their lines. That's what the Movie Director tool is that you give them their lines, you tell them what to say. The Rewind tool is that you give them another chance to do it. So no consequences necessary. You just rewind and try again. So your kid says something disrespectfully, it's just like, rewind and try that again. So if they don't know what to say or do, this is the Movie Director tool where you give them their lines. You tell them what to do. You direct their choices. You say, now you need to say this, now you need to say that. So remember that they are still learning the right words and ways to speak and act respectfully. And it's our job to take time to teach them that, to practice that. And so these 2 on-the-spot practice tools of Rewind and the Movie Director of giving them their lines gives them an opportunity to get something right, to do it right, so they get that positive reinforcement of, thank you. That's exactly how the leaves talk when we talk to each other. So you can say, hey, can you rewind and try saying that again with respect? And then you give them their lines if they don't know what to say. You say, can I please have a drink of water? So that way you don't have kids barking orders at us all the time. Or you can say, hey, can you rewind and try asking your sister nicely for the toy? And then you can give them their lines. Say, can I please have a turn with that toy? So it is on the spot, immediate practice for your child to get something right. Setting our kids up for success, being proactive, putting more of our parenting energy in teaching our kids the right, the good, the kind, the respectful things to do, versus spending so much time reacting and punishing and setting consequences for things that they didn't do well. So final encouragement. You do not have to use these tools, but they are helpful and they are powerful. Remember that the primary goal for you is to draw from your own experiences, and just remember to listen and empathize first, and then let the conversation go from there. You are a parent, and you have a lot to offer just simply from your parenting experiences, and hopefully from what you've gained from these training videos too. I hope that you've gained a lot as well. But the greatest thing that you can offer them is encouragement, prayer. I mean, those are 2 really powerful things that you're going to be able to offer a parent as a mentor. And so I want you to remember that. And I want to leave you with a couple of testimonials from parents who have been through our classes, who've been through our trainings. And one mom said, Brianna, mother of 4, I was at my breaking point. Thank you for coming into our lives when I needed it most. This is the opportunity that you're going to have when you're out there as a mentor, is you're going to have parents coming up to you that they might be at their breaking point, and you are going to be able to come into their lives and provide hope, encouragement, empathy, to give them that I know exactly what you're feeling is huge. Another parent said, Jasmine, mother of 2, I was sinking and my relationship with my daughter was terrible. Real Life Families has helped me to feel love for my daughter again. Sorry, but I'm going to cry here. But these are the opportunities that you have through this family coaching on the go program, is taking a parent who might come to you and just feel like they're just sinking in their issues and sinking in their challenges as a parent. And you're going to be the one that provides them hope. And then on the other side of that, there's going to be a child who's going to be able to receive more love and more empathy and more practice and more patience from a parent, because they're going to be learning tools and they're going to be encouraged by other parents out there who have been there, who understand, and that could be you. So thank you so much for taking your time to go through these training videos. The next steps for you now is to take your final quiz, your session number 3 quiz. You will receive, after we get all of your quizzes in and all of your quizzes graded, you will receive your mentoring certificate. You will sign that confidentiality form that's on the webpage. And as soon as we have all this stuff in, then you will be our mentor. But I wanted to, and I'm glad I put these up there to remember to say this, but remember that we are all learning here. We're all learning as parents and in this program, because it's new. We are learning. We've not done this before. You're going to be able to help us work out the kinks, figure out what we need to do differently, what we need to do better. But the idea and the vision and the passion for this program is definitely there. And you're going to be able to help us make these little tweaks to help make this program better and better. So just be patient with us. And I absolutely cannot wait to see you. I wish I could give you a big hug at our next event, but I cannot wait to see you at our next event. And let's get this movement of supporting parents and families and kids started and see you. Yay!